We have a jump the last years. We have 2 times in the medals and 1 time in the fighting spirit in the World Champions in Korea. So now we have set the Greek Federation not in the top, but we have get out of the shadows. We are in the light. You need to understand your contact with the earth in order to be able to move smoothly like in Kendo. You need to communicate with your opponent in Kendo in order to communicate with your Kasoteki, and then later to communicate at the intellectual level with your Mato.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tokuskai Inside Look podcast. Today we're speaking with Spiros Drossoulakis Sensei from Athens, Greece. Drossoulakis Sensei has been training for over 35 years, during which time he achieved the rank of Iaido renshi 7th Dan, Kendo 5th Dan, Karate Shotokan 4th Dan, and has been a major contributor to the Hellenic Kendo Iaido Naginata Federation. Drossoulakis Sensei founded the Furyu Athens Dojo in 2002 and has since then functioned a part as the main sensei of the dojo, as coach of the Hellenic Iaido National Team, Iaido Technical Advisor of the Serbian Kendo Federation, and served previously as the General Secretary and is current president of the Hellenic Kendo Iaido Naginata Federation. In this wide-ranging conversation, we get a brief glimpse into a lifetime of martial training, relationships, and experiences, and the inspiring growth of Budo in the country of Greece. So without further ado, please enjoy this stimulating interview with Spiros Drossoulakis Sensei.
Hello everybody, my name is Spiros Drossoulakis. I was born in Greece and live in Greece, and I follow the Budo path in some expression of it. I started my Budo career with the karate practice back in 1981, and I still practice, but not so often, where I hold the Yondan grade following the line of the late Taiji Sensei. At that time, there was no Iaido in Greece up to that time. Then I was in Belgium for my job requirements, and then I started the Iaido there under Pisut Sensei. When I came back to Greece, I continued here starting the Furyu Dojo, and coming back, it was the very first steps of Iaido and Kendo in Greece, so I joined the federation. 2 years later, I became student of Oda Kachuo Sensei, Iaido Hanshi Hachidan Kyoshi Kendo Naradan. And that was a very important point because he guided me all the way. Then in 2006, we started the Kendo practice in my dojo. And this Iaido and Kendo practice continues up to today in a very steady way. I am holding a renshi Nanadan grade in Iaido and a Godan grade in Kendo. And a couple of years ago, circumstances gave us the opportunity to practice Kyudo in an attempt to introduce Kyudo in Greece. So we are actually the first Kyudo group in Greece, and only the first and only. I'm a Mudan in Kyudo, just a Mudan, a poor Mudan. There is one of my Iaido students, she is leading the practice. And we are under the directions of Vlaselar Sensei Renshi Rokudan from Belgium, who is coming frequently to Greece and give us his knowledge, sharing his knowledge with us in Kyudo. So this is my Budo path. However, there is a distinct difference from other people, and this is that usually you start your practice technically, and then you are introduced to the mental aspect of Budo. However, myself started opposite because I started with a so-called mental status because I'm a retired officer of the Hellenic Navy. I graduated from the Hellenic Naval Academy, so I was introduced to all these martial virtues before being introduced to the technical aspect of this. And this is a combination that has helped a lot both sides, my technical side and my Budo side from my professional point of view. So this is my small portrait.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions I have in there.
Okay. I will be glad to answer. Be glad to answer.
So let's start with the Naval Academy and your professional life in the Navy. How did you get started in that?
We're talking now when I was very young. I entered the Naval Academy after the high school. I have decided to follow this adventure because, as we say, Navy is not a job, it's an adventure. I joined the Naval Academy. I went up through the ladder of ranks, through education, serving on board ships, serving on staff positions, and I retired from the Navy as a Vice Admiral, 3-star Admiral.
Oh, wow. So you're also probably one of the rare martial artists that have experience in, if not actual combat, then combat drilling at least. So maybe you could talk a
Yes,
bit
maybe
about
yes.
that.
Of course, martial arts, as we know them through the Budo arts, are mainly referred to person engagement situations or persons to multiple persons engagement situations. However, the principles of the real battle between squadron of ships or army units or aircraft, etc., follow the same principles. Principles are the same. The level is different, the scale is different, but the level is the same.
Oh, please continue on that. Like these principles that are similar. Can you describe that?
Yeah. Okay, I will try to make it as simple as possible. When you practice Kendo, because Kendo and Karate is more, I'd say, the presence of the opponent is more imminent. You have your opponent in front of you. So you try to instill the shikai on your opponent, the fear, the doubt, the confusion, the hesitation. It's just the same when you are battling your enemy. You are just trying, if you instill the fear of him on him, or if you do make him confused, then you are winning. So it's the same principle on another scale. Of course, tactics are different, the way you act is different, but the principle is there. The principle is there. Or also when you, in Kendo, you try to understand your opponent, it's the same in a real battle. You try to predict the movements of your opponent, you try to enter his mind and be one step in front of him. And what I have found very interesting is the Bana principle on Kendo. So what you do in the Bana Baza, you play with your opponent, and the moment that they're ready to attack, you catch up the okori and you attack. In the modern life of engagement, where very few countries wants to start a military engagement, and each one is trying to provoke the other for the first movement, then it's a very good principle. Then you say, okay, it was not my intention, it's the intention on the other side that I had to do it. So in this concept is very similar. The scale is different, as I said. The principle is there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is so interesting how it's exactly like in Kendo where you're trying to get the other person to attack.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
So you mentioned a few other things, fear, doubt, confusion. Could you give another example of how would you instill either fear, doubt, or confusion in a Kendo opponent? And then how would you do it in the scale of a Navy?
Okay. First of all is your posture. Either your personal posture or your military unit posture. If you have a posture that shows your confidence, your kigurai, your mentality, then this is an instillment of fear to your opponent. Imagine in Kendo an opponent who is not holding his shinai properly, etc., then you don't fear. If you see someone with a proper posture, well, the only thing that you see is the cycle of his shinai, then you have a fear. People in Kendo who have practiced with top-level teachers, Hachidan level teachers, they can understand what I'm saying. When the only thing you see is only the Sinai in front of you all time, it's the same. And then when you have the fear, the hesitation is coming as well. And then the confusion, what should I do? What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do this? And then you are actually winning without hitting, without firing. Just because your opponent is stepping back because cannot find any opportunity or any hope for winning over you.
And what does that look like on like a Navy scale?
Same. If you arrive in the theater and you realize that your opponent has all the basic position, all the proper position, and you are always targeted and it's just a pressing of the button to send you to the water, then it's just the same.
Okay.
But let's stay on the Budo way and not go into the Navy tactics.
All right. So you were in Belgium for work.
Yes, I was serving at the Greek delegation at the NATO headquarters.
How did you discover Iaido there and how did you start the practice?
Actually, I started back in 81 with my karate practice. But through reading different books, magazines on martial arts, I have discovered the Kendo and the Iaido and the other martial arts. However, at that time, they were not existing in Greece. I had an interest because, everyone who practices martial arts would like to have a Japanese sword, regardless if you practice Iaido or not. And I like to practice, but it was not possible because there was nobody in Greece. We are talking now in the 80s where it was a different era, no internet, no possibility to find this information as it is today, because today you want some information, you go to Google and you find everything. In 1980s, 80s and 90s, that was not the case. So when I still have this in my mind, and when I was in Belgium for a period of 3 years, I said, why not trying? I found the through internet dojo by chance, and I joined them, and we are still. This is my senpai in Iaido. That was the Yaegaki, the brother Yaegaki Kai. At this moment, there are two Nanadans, Bruvier Sensei and Simonini Sensei, and Kanto Sensei Rokudan is the next on the line. These are my senpais in Iaido. Oda Sensei was a teacher of the Shikan of this dojo. And then later, when I came back to Greece for my own practice, we invited him in Greece and he took me as his student. And of course, in the same way, we found out the Kendo because Oda Sensei was Iaido Hanshi and Kendo Kyoshi, so he pushed us a little for the Kendo. Then when I came back in 2002 in Greece, the situation of Kendo and Iaido had started 2 or 3 years earlier, just when I left. So there was a small group, and I am a part of this development of today. Today, the federation is much more developed, not in the sense of other European federations, but we're much more developed than that time.
So you were practicing Iaido in Belgium, and then
Yes.
when you came back to...
When I came back to Greece, I wanted to continue my practice. My senpai is there, Bruvier Sensei and Simonini Sensei and the others. They knew that my time there was limited, so they have tried to give me as much knowledge as possible. I had to admit that my karate experience had helped me to absorb new knowledge. And then when I came back, I decided to make a small group just to help me practicing. This is what today is my dojo, my Furyu Dojo Athens. Then this dojo joined the federation, which was just in its infancy. I continue practicing, going through the ladder of the grades, and etc. Traveling abroad for seminars, inviting teachers in Greece for seminars, inviting Oda Sensei was coming to Greece from 2005 until last February, every year 2 times, and sometimes 3 times.
That's
so
amazing.
We had a very,
That's such a luxury, yeah.
Exactly. We were very lucky. Unfortunately, Oda Sensei passed away in April. So for the moment, we are a kind of orphans, but he has given us a lot of knowledge to continue our way.
When you first started the Furyu Dojo, where did the students come from? Were they from karate, or they just...
Yeah, when you start the dojo, 2 are the main difficulties. First, to find a place, an actual practice hall, and second, to have people. This is the first 2 difficulties. So my karate teacher in Greece helped me because he allowed me to use the same dojo, and we still use 1 time per week. And then I asked in my karate club where I was belonging, who would like to practice Iaido. There was an interest. Some people came in the beginning, some left, some stayed. And then we made a small group, which was practicing. And after, I think, 1 or 1.5 years, I was invited to demonstrate in a martial arts demonstration in Athens. So it was the first time that the Iaido was presenting. That was a kind of, showing the art to the broader audience. So more interest came, more people came, and then we continue.
And then what was your motivation for starting Kendo at the dojo in 2006?
That's a good question. The motivation was that Oda Sensei, who I was already his student, told me, why not practicing Kendo? Kendo will help your Iaido, and Iaido is helping your Kendo, etc. And some of my senior people say, why don't try some Kendo? There was already a couple of Kendo clubs in Greece. So we said, okay, let's start it. We asked from one of the senior Greek guys to give us instructions for a couple of years. And then I continued to guide the group.
When Oda Sensei comes to teach, he teaches Iaido and Kendo?
Both. Oda Sensei was coming to ICE in Greece. One time was in February. He was coming for about 1 week. And he was practicing the dojo, Kendo or Iaido, every day Kendo or Iaido. And then he was coming in October again, when we had an open seminar of Iaido and Kendo. So every time he was coming to Greece, we had practice in both. But the best of it was that Oda Sensei was staying in my house. When he was coming in Greece, he was staying in my house. So actually, as you may understand, the knowledge was passed at every moment. By talking, I had a question, he was answering the question, bring the shinai or bring the bokuto, bring the sword. So that was the best source of knowledge.
Yeah,
The daily
amazing.
contact.
That's priceless.
Priceless.
The language was not a barrier?
Not, I would say that the language was not a fence. It was a barrier in the sense that his English were not fluent, my Japanese were not fluent. He was speaking a bit of English, I was speaking a bit of Japanese, but we managed to pass the knowledge because sometimes it's also the body language that, so when I show you something and you understand. So it was not a fence, to stop the pass. It was a barrier, but not a fence.
You mentioned these times at your house that you get some learning. Any particular ones you remember, any particular times, like late at night or after dinner or in the morning?
Every time, in the morning, after dinner, every time that we were at home, the discussion was about the Iaido, mainly about the Iaido Kendo. And he always had something to say at certain points, kata or looking at video from YouTube and explaining things.
Any one or two experiences that particularly stick out in your mind when you think back to those times?
One very, I'd say, particular is the first years that Oda Sensei was coming to my house, we had a German Shepherd. They were very good friends, a big German Shepherd. So one night we had Oda Sensei, and a friend of mine from Italy, Amoruso Sensei, had visited Athens because he wanted to do some practice with Oda Sensei. And then we had dinner at my home together with some of my senior students. So during the discussion, we always took the opportunity to ask the sensei about this and this and this. So one of my students asked him something about how you make the seme in kendo, how you do seme. He could not understand. So the sensei said to me, bring the shinai. Bring the shinai in front of the dog was not a very good idea, you know. But anyway, I remember in my living room, Oda Sensei with my student with the shinai to explain him how to do the seme, and I had embraced a dog just because the dog was looking what's going on here. That was a moment that I cannot forget. My dog had a very good relationship with Oda Sensei. They were sitting together in my veranda, etc. So he sees someone to cross some sticks with his friend, you know, he's getting a bit upset. So I had to keep him not to do some move. Okay, then after they finished, everything was okay. But it was some unforgettable moment.
That's amazing. What about one personal moment, one-to-one, you and Oda Sensei, the two of you? Any particular time or experience stands out?
We had so many times. It's very difficult to remember one particular because he was coming in Greece for 15 years. He was staying in my house for 15 years. So many moments. Okay, I remember one. You practice Iaido, do you? Okay. Although Oda Sensei was following his teaching, he was never talking about the Okuyai. He said the Okuyai is for higher levels. You come to Japan. He was talking to us on Koryu about Shoden or Chuden. But so in my dojo, we have a tradition that our first drawing is on the New Year's Day, 7 o'clock in the morning. So on New Year's Day, 7 o'clock in the morning, we are in the dojo, those who want. We are always, nowadays, we are about 10, 12 persons every time. Some of them coming directly from some party. We do a demonstration. We follow a certain protocol of practice just to welcome the new year. And I had a video of my embu on that morning when on the last was an Okuyai kata. And I wanted to show him the video, but I said what he will say. So I said, okay, let's show him the video. And so he said, you know, this video to give me some comments. Okay. So when we are coming now to the final, the last one was Okuyai kata Ryozume. Said, okay, this should be low. Kisaki should be lower where you chuki. Okay, thank you very much. Approved.
All that worry wasn't needed.
My worries went away. my worries went away.
So Oda Sensei came to Greece often. Did you ever go visit him in Japan?
Yes, I have been in Japan a couple of times. The last years I'm visiting Japan to participate at the Kyoto Taikai. I plan to participate this year as well, but everything was cancelled because of the coronavirus. From my first visit for Iaido Kendo in Japan, I have a very unforgettable story. That was in 2008. I was Sandan, Iaido Sandan, Kendo Shodan, and together with two of my students, they were Q in Kendo, and we went to Japan and we visited Oda Sensei. We had some private practice with him, and then he introduced us to the Budo Sokai Rensei Kai training. Budo Sokai, I don't know if you're aware or the audience is aware, is a group of high-level people. They organize 2 seminars, to Rensei Kai every year, where you join with a minimum level of Yondan. And there is 2 days of Iaido and Kendo practice under the direction of Hachidan teachers. At that time, Haga Sensei, who was the teacher of Oda Sensei, was the Kancho of Budo Sokai. So in the afternoon, during the Kendo practice, in our group that we were the lower grades, Oda Sensei has introduced us to this Rensei Kai. We were asked to perform the Kendo kata for our group. But then something happened, and the vice chairman of the Budo Sokai said to the leading teacher that these two will make the demonstration of the Kendo kata for the whole seminar. So suddenly they say 2 very low grades, as I told you, I was Shodan and the other was Q, to make a presentation of the Nihon Kendo kata to an audience where if you were adding all the done grades, I don't know what the number would be. You understand, we are very happy about it. We are very happy. You may understand our happiness on that. We did the demonstration. We do not know what we did. The only thing that I remember is that after that, Oda Sensei was smiling. That means we did something not very bad, not very bad, but it was an experience in the sense of feeling.
Yeah, so you were looking out at so many high ranks, including many Hachidans looking at you.
Of the old generation, to give you an example of those present there, was Haga Sensei, Iaido and Kendo Hanshi, Nomasa Sensei, Iaido and Kendo Hanshi, and then a number of other senseis at that level. And then you are going as a young grade to make this demonstration. It's not the most desirable thing in your life.
Well, knowing you could do that, there's nothing else you can fear going back.
Yeah, exactly.
So what were the following experiences like? You've gone back another time for training, or it's just for the Kyoto Taikai?
Every time we go there, we go for training with the Budo Sokai seminar. So I have attended the Budo Sokai seminar a couple of times more. And I had also some private practices with Oda Sensei.
And these seminars, they have other foreign participants?
When I was in my first time, the foreign participants were not so many. We were only, in my first participation, we were only 7 non-Japanese participants. The other 4 were very high Naradan level. The last couple of times that I was there, the last 2 years that I was there are more foreign participants. It's a 2-day seminar. You start in the morning and you end up in the afternoon. First is mainly Iaido practice with some Kendo practice as well.
Are you traveling alone or with people?
Sometimes alone, sometimes with people. But the last years, we meet with my Belgian senpai there because they also were there.
Okay. Going back to Greece and your dojo and the Hellenic Kendo Federation, your dojo was Iaido that started Kendo, which is actually quite rare.
My dojo started with the Iaido only. Then came the Kendo. A couple of years later, around 2010, 2011, one of my very senior students wanted to practice Jodo as well. So he started practice Jodo with some other teachers and seminars. And then he asked me if we may have a Jodo group. I said, okay, but you will take care of this Jodo group. So we introduced a Jodo section as well. And then 5 years ago, a new student came for Iaido in my second dojo. I will explain after what I mean by second dojo. A young lady, she said, I want to practice Iaido, okay. do you have any experience? She said, yes, I was in England. She came from England. I was practicing Kyudo. Kyudo, okay. And then we convinced her that we have to start a Kyudo section. And she take care. In the beginning, she was a bit hesitant. Then we convinced her. And we started the Kyudo section. So now in Furyu Dojo, we have 4 sections: Iaido, Kendo, Jodo, and Kyudo. But Furyu Dojo is the nucleus of a group of 6 dojo. So there are another 5 dojo where the leaders are my students. So we have not a federation, but we are a group. I teach at the Zen Center Athens. We are only Iaido. There are 2 other dojo, Kobukan and Kushikan, were led by my students in Athens. Then there is one dojo in Spiros Island, Kendo in Iaido, led by one of my students. I visit them 2 or 3 times per year for the weekend. There is another one dojo in Creta, Iaido. These are new in the group. And I am also the technical advisor of the Serbian Kendo Federation. The last 6 years, I'm visiting Serbia every year to teach Iaido.
Oh, wow. So any sensei would be proud to just have one student go off and open a dojo. Having 5 is amazing. What do you attribute to that? How were you able to help them be able to go off on their own and become leaders?
Okay, they asked me if they can do it. I said, okay, you have my support. That means they are coming. I give them knowledge. I try to help them. But circumstances allowed it because, for example, one of my students in Spiros Island, Spiros is an island about 90 miles from Athens. That means about 4 hours by ferry boat. So he wanted to go back to his island, to his birthplace. And the only way to follow the training was to make a dojo there. So I said, okay, will have my support. I will come to help you. So every 4 months, I visit Spiros for a weekend for leading Kendo and Iaido practice.
So these other dojos that you're saying that opened by your students, is this what you meant by the second dojo that this?
Yeah, the second dojo is, particularly the second dojo is the Zen Center Athens. It's a dojo at the very center of Athens. Started by one of my students, but he had asked me to teach there. So I teach personally in 2 different dojos, in Furyu Dojo and in Zen Center Athens.
This Kyudo student, she goes to the Zen Center, but also teaches
she's
Kyudo
practicing, she's practicing Kyudo, Iaido at the Zen Center and in the Furyu Dojo sometimes, but the Kyudo group is at the Furyu Dojo.
Let's talk about the development of the Hellenic Kendo Federation. You said when you first came back, there was very little.
The development of the Hellenic Kendo Federation is an interesting story. When my dojo joined the federation, we had 4 Iaido dojo and 3 Kendo dojo. Some of them were the same. Now we have about 20 dojo in Greece. In Iaido and Kendo, some of them only Iaido, some of them only Kendo, some of them both. Jodo is not so much developed. We have, through the years, we have developed a very significant presence in the European activities, European championships. Our first presence in the Kendo Championship was in early 2001, and Iaido came later in 2008. At the beginning, we were just going, if I may say, we are just going. But for the Iaido, for example, for the Iaido participation for the last 10 years, since 2010, we are every year in the medals. Some Greek is every year in the medal.
Very nice for such a small and more recent.
2000. I personally have 4 different awards. I have 4 times fighting spirit as a Yondan, as a Godan, and 2 times as a Rokudan. But as I said, 2010 up to the last year, we have every year someone in the Iaido medals, at least one. For example, last year we had 2 fighting spirits, 1 third place in the individuals Mudan, and the 2nd place in the team competition. And for the Kendo, we have a jump the last years. We have 2 times in the medals and 1 time in the fighting spirit in the World Championships in Korea. So now we have set the Greek Federation not in the top, but we have get out of the shadows. We are in the light.
Wow. In a lot of countries, the Kendo and Iaido groups are quite separate, and there's usually a lot more Kendo people than there are Iaido people.
We are the opposite. the Iaido people is more than the Kendo people. I cannot explain it. I can't explain it, but this is a reality. The Iaido people is more than the Kendo people.
Oh, wow. How did you develop this relationship with Serbia?
The relationship with Serbia came. Serbia has a very strong Kendo in Europe and in the world. They had a very good presence. In the last World Kendo Championship in Korea, Serbia had a very good presence. But Iaido was very small. So, how many years ago? 6 or 7 years ago, I was invited to assist a Japanese teacher in a mini Iaido seminar in Serbia. I said, okay, I will come. I was delighted to do it. And since I was going there earlier than the Japanese sensei, I offered them the possibility for some more practicing before he comes. I guess they liked the way, so they invited me again the next year. Then I told them, okay, there was a small developing group. I said, okay, maybe you have to start thinking to show your Iaido in the European Championship. So I introduced them in the competition, what the rules are. Maybe I forgot to say that myself and my student, one of my students, we were the very first Greek to go on the European Iaido Championship in 2007 in Paris. And I was responsible for the preparation of the Greek team until last year. Last year, I stopped preparing the team, but for the 10 years I was preparing the team. I was a coach and responsible for the team. So we do some preparation, and in their second participation in the European Championship in 2017 in Italy, Serbia took the first place in the Shotokan division.
Oh, congratulations.
And okay, then the relationship became stronger, and so now I'm invited there every year for a seminar.
What does it mean to be a technical advisor?
Technical advisor means you are not an actual member of the federation. I'm a guest, and they are not my students. My student is only their sensei, the other is his students. And I try to pass them knowledge and guide them not only technically, but also in other technical aspects of the Iaido development in Serbia.
So going back to Greece, the Kendo in Iaido has grown a lot since you've started and come back. It's developed to go to the championships. What's the path that Kyudo has taken now that you've started? Where is it now? And
okay, when we started with Kyudo, the main difficulty was the high-level direction, because Christina, who is the leading person, she was just a Nidan. So it was difficult to lead, to pass the knowledge, the high-level knowledge. After some difficulties to find some direction, we make contact with Vlaselaar Sensei, Jean-Pierre Vlaselaar Sensei. She is from Belgium. He's a very nice person, and he took the responsibility to guide us. And he has come to Greece 3 times up to now for seminars. He's coming once a year. And we are still a very small group. We are a single-digit number of practitioners. And we are the only one group in Greece. And it's very difficult to... So we are making small steps, but I prefer to make small and stable steps than big and, not so stable.
So my Kyudo instructor, when I was doing it for a while, asked me, what's the difference between Kyudo and Iaido? And I thought that was a very interesting question to ask. So I'm going to ask you, how would you describe Kyudo versus Iaido versus Kendo versus Karate? You also did that. So
okay,
those 4 arts, describe them.
Okay, let's see first of all what is connecting these arts, and then let's see what makes them distinct between them. Okay, as you are practicing Iaido and Kyudo, you have practiced Kendo as well or not?
I've been doing Kendo for about 1.5 years. I just started.
So then you will understand what I mean. Firstly, what connects them, what is the common denominator between them is the energy. When you practice, you feel energy. So when you face your opponent in Kendo, you feel some energy. When you're practicing your Iaido, you feel the energy that transfers through your sword to the target. So the common is the energy. What is the difference? The difference is that in Kendo, you feel this energy while moving. In Iaido, you feel this energy while moving. When in Kyudo, you feel this energy when you are at Kai, still, in stillness, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting, because normally we feel the energy when we move, when we do something. But when you are in Kai, in Kyudo, you are in stillness, but you are still feeling this energy, which is something very, very, very interesting. However, if I wanted to connect them, I don't know if you are aware of the principle of Ten Jin Chi. Ten is the haven, Jin is the person, Chi is the earth. Okay?
No, I haven't heard this.
Okay. I'm glad to say it for the first time to you. So Ten Jin Chi, actually you have the energy of the haven and the energy of the earth, and is the human between them. If you see this from a Budo point of view, karate may be represented by the chi, by the earth. Why? Because in karate, you have to make your body a weapon. So you must be very well connected with the earth to have a base, and in order to develop your energy and everything. But when you go to Kendo, Kendo is communication. You communicate with your opponent through your shinai. So the human is communicating. So the jin part, the human, is the Kendo. And the Iaido, where you communicate with your kasoteki, at a high level in the Iaido, you communicate with your kasoteki, is in this part. Kendo, and at the higher level is the Iaido, is the human communication. And then Kyudo is at the top, at the haven, because it's very intellectual. You are you and the mato, the target. And the haven represents the intellectual. So you have the base, the communication, Jin, and the intellectuality at the 10.
Wow, that's a wonderful description. It just shows how it all fits into one person's practice. They're not something that they don't conflict with each other. They're parts of a whole that makes you
exactly.
complete.
And one helps the development of the other, because you need to understand your contact with the earth in order to be able to move smoothly like in Kendo. You need to communicate with your opponent in Kendo in order to communicate with your kasoteki, and then later to communicate at the intellectual level with your mato when you are opening the... Actually, what I found, okay, from a technical point of view, very interesting, is that how you move in Kyudo with all your body in when you go to make the steps to make your ashibumi is the same. If you move the same way in the Tachi Vasa of Iaido, then you apply pressure to your opponent, if you understand what I mean. Normally in Iaido, human people, you stand, then you extend your feet in front, you make some base, and then you move the body, and then, but if you make the stability on your back foot and you move the whole body in front, like you move in Kyudo, then you apply pressure in the Tachi Vasa in Iaido.
Yeah, it makes you learn faster because you can apply these things that are focused on one part to do another one.
Yes, the one after a certain level, one art helps the other. Helps you to understand better points in the other and apply in both sides, especially in points where there is no confrontation.
So I don't want to take too much more of your time. We have 5 minutes or so left. My last question would be, what's your view of the future for these arts in Greece? What are your hopes and dreams for Kendo, Iaido, Kyudo in your country?
I hope that we will continue to develop. It happens that currently I'm also the president of the Greek Federation. So
you have to have thought about this.
Yeah, exactly. So we hope to develop them. And the current situation has brought us a bit behind. We have made a big step as federation last year when we took over the organization of the European Iaido Championship. The last European Iaido Championship took place in Greece. It was the biggest one in terms of participations of competitors, etc. So that was a very big step for the Greek Federation. We hope that we'll continue this way. I hope that the current situations and restrictions with the coronavirus will be overcome soon. I don't know, I hope soon. And then we will be returned back to our normal training schedules. But for what I'm sure is that my generation of Greek Kendo practitioners will have prepared well the next generation. Because there will be one day, sooner or later, where a new generation should take over. And I think we have prepared this generation to continue in a forward way.
That's great. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you had thought about that you want to share that I didn't cover in my questions or topics?
No, I think I have nothing comes to my mind at the moment. I would like to thank you very much for this opportunity, and I would like to thank all people who are listening to this for their patience to go to the end of the discussion.
No, thank you
I
so
wish
much.
soon all these current difficulties to be overcome and everybody come back to the normal practice schedules.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope to meet you sometime in the future because you have so many.
I look forward to.
Yeah.
When you decide to have a visit to Greece, feel free, just let me know, and I'm sure you will have a very good time. And it will be my pleasure to guide you and help you in everything. And have the opportunity to practice together.
Of course, yeah. No, first thing we do when we go vacation somewhere is, where's the Iaido Dojo? Let's get in the practice times.
I do the same.
Yeah, great. Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. The Inside Look podcast is a production of Tokuskai Canada and is available on most podcast platforms and on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and be notified when new episodes are published. You can also learn more about us by subscribing to our newsletter at subscribe.tokuskai.ca or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at tokuskai.canada. We're always looking for ways to improve, so please drop us a line on ideas for the show. And until next time, practice hard and practice often. Bye-bye now.